While Marion and our nephew Phil are climbing Indian Head Mountain for a mid-July view of Glacier Peak, let me give you a few words. The Glacier Peak region, located roughly between Everett, Washington, and Lake Chelan, is today a battleground. The combatants are old adversaries and have met frequently since the first national park was established. On the one hand are those who feel that nothing has value until it has been processed. Opposing them are those who would save, as samples of the great ocean of virgin forest that once covered the West, a few islands of what remains, for the physical and spiritual recreation of future Americans, those forgotten people who will inherit from this generation, unless our habits of waste are corrected, nothing but poverty. Those who would save the area are of two minds. Some want it wilderness, under Forest Service classification. Others see in it a chance to establish our most beautifully alpine national park, with certain areas made accessible to the motor tourist. Both agree that this is America's, the finest of its kind, and that we will be failing the future if we do not save it intact. For here, in this familiar latitude, and at a comfortable altitude, are all those phenomena of great mountain ranges that call to the adventurous spirit in mankind. Here is wilderness, unspoiled. One visit to the region suggests another. We induced our good friend Yvonne Prater to spend 5 days with us in the Napiqua Valley, a few miles east of Glacier Peak. We used the Boulder Creek approach. Boulder Creek is one of those happy surprises that sometimes reward the trail traveler when merely passing through an area. The map will indicate 4,000 feet of climbing to reach Boulder Pass, but no map can prepare you for the quality of this valley. We made our camp in the upper basin, enjoyed a good night's rest, then spent a leisurely morning in the vicinity of the pass, where excellent views reward the short stroll in whatever direction. The east peak of Clark Mountain is a handsome rock, now sporting a small, brand new, but authentic glacier. While I was setting up the camera, the ladies, both of whom are ardent wilderness advocates, caught my attention in animated discussion with the words wilderness uses, so I bent an ear.
Besides, the part wilderness plays in the production and control of water is priceless. Mountain snows produce springs. Streams merge and grow. At its best, as found in its wilderness source, water is cold and pure and provides us with beauty, relaxation, and sport. Not to mention food for the wilderness traveler. Only from wilderness sources can come abundant pure water for the use of cities. Potentially, water is a three-way problem. Is it suitable for use? Will there be too little or too much? Floods can be as serious as drought. In areas of heavy snowfall, wilderness forests retard melting, conduct water toward underground storage, and thus help to prevent disastrous flooding. Even with this protection, the rivers run bank full in spring. On the disputed Agnes Forest above Lake Chelan, Chuck has skied down to 2,000 feet elevation as late as the 22nd of May. If the Agnes is clear-cut as planned, a serious flood problem on the lower Stehekin may exist. Long-time residents there think so. There are many places to grow trees for lumber, and there also are places where a forest should be left to serve its ecological purpose.
With all issues settled, we again shouldered our packs, climbed to the pass, and began the 2,000-foot descent into the fabulous Napiqua. A convenient snowfield induced the ladies to forget that for every such yielding to expedience, a compensatory sacrifice is exacted. In this case, wet bottoms, which soon dried under the blazing August sun. We found the trail, bordered in red heather bells, very attractive indeed for an old sheep driveway. The Forest Service, at long last, is now relocating this section, which for years has been an alternate route on the Cascade Crest Trail. Small wonder that this valley, in many ways the most beautiful in America, is still virtually unknown. Wading the glacial Napiqua on this hot day was a pleasant experience. We dined on an island in midstream before completing our crossing and taking the meager trail west. Found us several miles upstream, crossing the North Fork shortly after sunrise. Water ouzel warbled hello. Yesterday's hot summer air had been replaced by cold air from the North Pacific, yet the meadows were sunny, and this threshold was one we had to cross. Here, the Sherpas of the spirit take up your burdens of fatigue and of concern for time and urge you eagerly forward. We verified an ancient belief that glaciers are indeed made of ice. This is the upper Napiqua Glacier, as viewed from the Cascade Divide between the Napiqua and the Seattle rivers. Looking west, the Honeycomb Glacier south of Glacier Peak is an alpine workshop where the grinding and polishing of Mother Earth is a living process. And on these heights is other life, seen by Marion through the glasses. Mazama, the mountain goat, our favorite animal, typical of the high country we love and symbol of Portland's famous outing club. A brief rest before descending found us sharing the view with a young buck, grown fat on lush alpine grasses. Our camp was located near the foot of Louis Creek Falls. Our next project was a visit to the Louis Creek Valley, which lies north of the Napiqua on the western side of Buck Mountain. It could more appropriately be named Pumice Valley, for it is full of the light air-filled rock. Very few people have ever been in it. We left our camp across the river from a hanging tongue of the Clark Mountain Glacier to make the steep climb of 2,200 feet to the Louis Creek rim. Where we found such views of Clark Mountain, framed in alpine larch. We strolled to the head of the basin, then followed the stream down to where Marion tested the authenticity of the pumice. 99 and 4400%. After which, we recrossed the rim and started back down to camp. Napiqua is Indian for white water. The river is properly the North Fork of the White River, which flows into Lake Wenatchee. An excellent approach to the Glacier Peak region is via the White River Trail to White Pass. It is a wilderness trail, its quality diluted only by sheep grazing in alternate years. The trail is long, but for this distance is river grade. Interesting mountain wildlife and excellent mountain views are your reward all the way along. You reach the crest trail at the summit and then turn north toward White Pass and Glacier Peak. Few are the places which entice the itching foot so persuasively. it also is a perfect place just to be lazy. For looking far to the south, to the Waptus and Snoqualmie peaks, or west to Sloan Peak. Below is White Pass. Glacier Peak and its company. To the southwest is the ice-hung Monte Cristo Range. Here at White Pass, the visitor has a view window on 360 degrees of world done in green and white. Our companion in the pass that evening was this vole, warning us by his concern for an adequate food supply that foul weather was brewing. He was right, but what a chow-hound. Chased by fog and rain, we returned on the first day of autumn, following weeks of hot weather, convinced that this section of the Crest Trail between Indian, White, and Red Passes is in the very top class scenery-wise. The hot weather following winter's light snowfall had the bare bones of the glaciers showing. Red Pass did not disappoint us. A family of hawks call it home. Here is born the White Chuck River, but a greater part of its water comes from the glacier of the same name. The northern boundary of the proposed Glacier Peak Wilderness area is at Cascade Pass, 24 miles north of the peak. Approach is by way of the Skagit and Cascade rivers on the west, or Lake Chelan and the Stehekin River from the east. Lake Chelan is unique in this country, partly filling, as it does, the deepest trench in the United States. One of the great views of America can be obtained from its bordering peaks. From the summit of Pyramid, for instance, lake water laps the rocks 7,200 feet below. From Pyramid, it takes a 6-power lens to make the passenger launch look this big. The 50-mile lake boasts many pleasure craft, and a trip to Lake's Head is great sport and a wonderfully scenic excursion in a small, fast boat. From the dock at Stehekin, the glacier-hung peaks at the head of Park Creek are visible. Cascade Pass is about 30 miles distant, most of those miles available to car travel. The pass area is a scenic gem, and any camp there will be a memorable one. Let's eat a little oatmeal this morning, because the day will be strenuous as we traverse southeast from the pass to the Cache Glacier en route to Cache Call. From the call, the view northward is more or less restricted to the serrate rim above Horseshoe Basin, between Mount Sahaly and Mount Buckner. Our destination was a small tarn misnamed Kool-Aid Lake, and no sooner did we reach it than from deeper into this wilderness came Roland Tabor, a geology student using the region for his thesis area. Our campsite was a beautiful spot, dominated by a number of fine peaks. Mount Formidable, especially, was outstanding. Later in the day, from Cascade Pass came Dale Cole and his wife and 13-year-old sister. Dale was in the second party ever to make the trip through the crest country south of Cascade Pass. The third party went through this past summer. Incredible that we can make such a statement so late in our history as 1957, yet it is true. A group of Seattle mountaineers joined us later that evening, and while there were fewer than 20 of us, Kool-Aid Lake entertained more people that one evening than it had since its ancient impoundment. Target of the climbing parties was Mount Formidable by way of the middle fork of the Cascade Glacier. Marion and I were there to do a little scouting for a possible trip next summer, and our project led us south of the Small Lakes Basin to the area above the Middle Fork Glacier's tongue. We climbed to the Cascade Divide near Spider Mountain at the head of Flat Creek, a Stehekin tributary. Meanwhile, the climbers were having an interesting time of it. Two new routes were climbed this day, both via the glacier. The mountaineers circled to the west. The group of three, not known to us, entered the bowels of a great crevasse. Then they were seen beating a hasty retreat, warned, perhaps, by the ominous growl of shifting ice. They turned the end of the schrund, then continued through spectacular ice above. We lost sight of them soon after. Sooner than we wished, we had to leave. In Cache Call, we met another 13-year-old lady mountaineer, Linda Spickard, just down from a climb of Mount Magic with her dad and friends. Mountains and glaciers are old friends to Linda, for she has learned to respect, but not to fear them. A quarter mile after leaving the ice, we came upon an astonishing sight. The Taylor slope was crawling with 3 to 7-year-old children, up to experience the thrill of being roped together on steep snow. That some future day, perhaps, they might tackle the glaciers of nearby El Dorado. Duke Watson, who had climbed Mount Magic with Linda and her dad, was Pied Piper. This was what we wanted to see, for here, in the eye of our camera, was a group made up of those generations beyond, of which we think most when defending our national parks and wilderness areas. For these children and for their children, a healing wilderness, panacea for whatever tensions their time will bring, areas for healthful sport, a mountain wilderness school of discipline to firm their characters, and a matrix for comradeship unsurpassed. Some of God's unspoiled places for them to marvel and to be both chastened and reassured. What the future holds for them we can see but dimly, yet these things they will always need.